So, with the Sonic movie sequel only around the corner, I figured now would be a good time to talk about Sonic. Please, oh gods of YouTube's algorithm, grant me some love! Now that we've gotten that pathetic prayer to the gods of YouTube out of the way. Hi, hello, I'm MangaKamen. You might know me as some guy who likes to make videos on topics that are years old at this point, and this video is no different. Sonic the Hedgehog. More notably, we're talking about an aspect of Sonic's more prominent introduction into the world of 3D, and I'm talking about Sonic Adventure. Yes, I know, 3D Sonic Blast is technically the first Sonic game that's 3D. But when people who aren't familiar with the franchise, they tend to think of one of the premier titles of the Sega Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure. So trust me, I know, it's annoying. Who am I kidding? I'm still gonna get a flood of comments telling me that 3D Sonic Blast is the first 3D game, even though I stated that it was. Also, spoilers, I guess? I mean, the game's about 20 years old at this point, and if you're complaining about spoilers in the Sonic game, then boy do I envy your life and worries. Anyway, Sonic Adventure is, funnily enough, a very contentious game. Gee, I don't know why. It's a game that's about 2 decades old at this point, and okay, sorry. Video on hold. I need to get this out of my system before we continue.
What the Jesus Christ, man! This is unacceptable! How do people defend this game?
This is a retroactive outrage!
Oh my god!
The Game Grumps are playing the DX version of a game, a version that's known to be much more buggy, and Aaron was exploiting a glitch by slowing down. A bad port of a game doesn't make the original game bad, it just means that the port's bad. There, rant over. Besides, this game's about 20 years old, old games will break sometimes, they have glitches, and the gameplay will be out there. And unfortunately, that even to this day, we still have some really unacceptable glitches and gaps that plague the gaming industry. I also know why we solely focus on some games more harshly than others, and oh goddamn trees! We're talking about Sonic. Right. Look, I know it's easy to claim that developers of a game are lazy, especially when you look at the jank that you can find in some of their games. But not a lot of people actually consider the work that goes into making games. Did you know that Sonic Team actually went on a trip to Central and South America in the span of 2 weeks to observe what the locations were like so they could have accurate details to incorporate into their game?
Okay, Sonic, go!
I don't know. If there wasn't any love or passion put into the game, I don't think something like that would have been done. So, even as a joke, I don't think it's in good taste to mock the passion that was put into the game. This isn't to excuse bugs and such. You do need to polish your product before you put it out there, but you do also need to remember that crunch is a thing that's been in the gaming industry for ages, even before the height of the internet. And while Sonic Adventure isn't the most polished game out there, sometimes you can overlook its faults because you can tell the developers really put some of their own soul into the game, and when you play with an open mind, you can tell there was love in it. A lot of people tend to forget that 3D games were still an open frontier, and learning how to code these kinds of games was an unknown sea. Again though, you can easily make an argument that we're still traveling those open seas with some of the glitches that I've seen in more modern games that put these ones to shame. Now, you may be wondering what the hell this video is talking about. Well, I had thought about talking about the entirety of Sonic Adventure, but there's already a ton of essays talking about how it's the greatest game of all time or how it's the worst game of all time. I don't know, I just think it's a fun game, and depending on which version you play, can be glitchy at times, some more than others. No, I figured today we'd talk about a good character from the game with a story that's too good for Sonic. Like, it's borderline offensive that a game with this has a story that I'm talking about in it. And frankly, I find it amazing that the game even has it, and I think I've made you wait too long to ask what this amazing story is and the character it follows. Well, if you're a fan of Sonic, I think you know exactly who it is. Big the Cat!
I've got a peer-reviewed study right here that says... says you're a doggy?
Okay, that was a terrible joke. It's actually Gamma.
Excellent! All systems, full power!
This presents a problem.
Hey, Mr. Robot! I know you're not an evil sword!
Dr. Robotnik. Enemy. E-Series. Friends. Must save.
know, right? A robot. And one that technically doesn't even have a personality. Well, that's really the beauty of Gamma's story, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. How does Gamma's story begin? Sorry, I forgot how scary graphics could be in the olden times.
Look at me. I'm your brilliant creator, Dr. Robotnik. You're the second of my E100 model machines. E102, codename Gamma.
Gamma.
Aside from Eggman's face being on par of that of FNAF's jump scares, we get this sick music track. And if you guys know me, you know that if I get a sick music track going, you've already got my attention. As you go through the part where you're trying to get a grasp of how Gamma's movements and controls work, Robotnik has you go through a shooting gallery to understand how Gamma's core gameplay is, where you just so happen to shoot some crude dummies of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Now, if for some reason you're watching this video and don't know who those characters are, well... But that actually kind of works in a sense. Gamma doesn't know these guys. He's just doing what he's told to do, shooting these dolls. That's something I always like with robotic protagonists, at least in the beginning, where they act like tools for their creators. And to them, it's not weird at all. After all, this life is something that this guy gave you. And what else are you gonna do? Hell, Gamma doesn't even question why Robotnik wants him to fight his brother Beta. To be fair, it's a dick move on Eggman's part, but he's the bad guy, what do you expect?
Who did you expect? Sparta Flop?
After you totally school your supposedly superior brother Beta, Robotnik takes you to a ship where you get your next mission. Alright, after shooting dolls with small multicolored animals and putting a few holes in your brother, what dangerous mission does the good doc got for us?
Behold, it's a tailed frog. Very unique. This frog is absolutely vital to my plans.
I'm gonna pass a kidney stone.
Okay. I know, out of context, this is kind of strange. That this mad scientist who has countless robots under his command is sending one of his best troops to go out and find a frog with a tail. And to be fair, there is context that I am leaving out. There's a good reason for why Gamma's going to go out to get this frog. It swallowed an item called the Chaos Emerald, a jewel that has an extreme amount of energy and power to it, and there are 7 of them. Dr. Robotnik's goal here is to empower an ancient water monster to destroy a local human city and build his own empire, and his main enemy is a blue hedgehog that can run really, really fast. Look, it's a kid's game. I'm not really going into this game looking for the deepest story about socio-political undertones. I'm playing as a blue hedgehog that can talk and smash into robots and a kidnap finding treasure. It'd be more weird if there was a deep philosophical message with
Now what am I gonna do?
But yeah, getting back to Gamma's story, after you catch the frog, the other 3 robots that Dr. Robotnik set out get the boot. And then he tells you to get a bird from a girl that was captured. Of course, when Gamma goes through the wrong door...
Beta. This is the wrong room.
There's actually something kinda funny about this scene. Mostly Gamma's reaction to seeing what is essentially his brother being ripped apart and being poked and prodded. Being recreated. and all Gamma can say is, "Whoops, wrong door!" I could overanalyze this scene and read way too much into it, but really, all I'll say, this is one of the series of events that slowly allows Gamma to actually evolve into a character.
Me the bird.
We'd love to really
Tell me about this!
want to know why you want it.
Data unavailable.
You don't even know? I bet you'd be mean to him, you bully.
I'll fucking strangle that little shit.
Let's not beat around the bush. The game is super rough, and the voice delivery is clunky, and the lip flaps are
Oh no! I'd better get to that missile before he detonates it!
a disaster. But the story is what matters here, at least with this video and where it's concerned. Don't get me wrong, presentation is important when it comes to a story, but sometimes you gotta remember, this was kinda new at the time. In any case, it's during this interaction with Amy and the bird that Gamma starts to evolve, to the point where he does something that a robot shouldn't do: disobey orders, allowing Amy and the bird to escape. It's then the dramatic showdown between Gamma and Sonic the Hedgehog happens.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Wow, that was pretty sad. Yeah, another critique I have about this game is that a good portion of the bosses for this game suck.
Give it your... Oh no!
But before Gamma can put Sonic out of his misery, Amy appeals to Gamma's inner goodness and convinces him to disobey orders. It's then that Gamma probably says one of the most meta lines I've heard in a Sonic game.
Dr. Robotnik. Enemy. Master registration deleted. E-series. Friends. Must save.
You guys get the pun? It's at this point in the game pretty much throws the rest of the characters out of the story. Robotnik, Sonic, Tails, Amy, and everyone's favorite character,
Come on, it's time to chew ass and bubble gum. And I'm not much of a gum chewer.
and it focuses on Gamma going to find the rest of the E-series. You know, the same robots that Robotnik kicked out of his ship, and save them by destroying them.
E-103 Delta. Rescue complete. E-104 Epsilon. Rescue complete. E-105 Zeta. Rescue complete. Units remaining. Gamma. Beta.
The whole thing ends with Gamma confronting an upgraded Beta, with the two exchanging blows to each other, and with it ending with the two managing to blow each other up, and releasing the birds that were used to create the robots in the first place. Yeah, that was Robotnik's thing back in the Genesis days of Sonic, and I guess in Adventure 2? Now, you guys have a basic understanding of how the plot of Gamma goes. I think we should talk about why I think this story of a 20-year-plus game is good, not just for the game, but in general. I will say this off the bat, the story could have been fleshed out a bit more, and hey, I can see an entire game being built around this concept of a robot learning empathy. Robots learn to become more human isn't anything new in our pop culture. Learning the beauty that is free will and trying to cope with the new emotions that these silicon souls are gaining can be entertaining. Hell, there are already games and movies that do tackle this. Off the top of my head, things like Detroit Becomes Human, but that's David Cage trash fire, and so that hardly ever counts. So what makes Gamma's story stick out? What makes it so strong? Well, to me, and funnily enough, it's due to the less amount of words that it has. What I think a lot of modern-day writers seem to neglect is the power of what's not actually being said. Most of the time, games will want to shovel down as much words and exposition down your throats as they can just do so to make you see where they're coming from or to explain their bloated plots. I mean, one of the biggest offenders in recent time for me is Yick. A game so bloated with dialogue that I never want to touch that story ever. Oh, son of a bitch! But, and this is something that I am sadly seeing less and less of in the media, is what isn't being said. Here's the thing that a lot of writers seem to forget. What you're not saying is just as important as the words that your characters are saying. That includes things such as imagery, actions, or even facial expressions. Okay, maybe not that last one for this game, but you get where I'm coming from. A story that is just basically getting into your face and yelling its message at you isn't going to be enthralling. It isn't going to be impactful, and it certainly isn't going to keep people's attentions if you just keep throwing more and more at them, seeing what will stick. Gamma's story is amazing because it respects the audience. It allows the audience to read what's not being said and allowing people to interpret the story in their own lights. When you're capable of putting a personal spin onto a story, it will have a tendency to stick with you longer. Gamma's story is one of empathy and compassion, as well as breaking free from the chains of a corrupt authority figure that doesn't actually see the value in you personally. I honestly have to applaud Sonic Team, for at the time for making a character that has no connection to the cast prior to this game, and tells a pretty good story. The point that it's actually kind of offensive that this story is alongside such stuff as...
Hooray! Soggy! I won't let them take you away again.
And it's really respectable that the franchise didn't take this character who learned to essentially become human and not oversell him or bring him back after a death scene. I think one more thing that makes this story great is that it leaves questions for the audience to think about for themselves. I'm sure there'll probably be a ton of people who will correct me out on this because Sonic fans do have a reputation for doing this sort of thing, but hey, I appreciate that, and I hope you guys are at least respectful to a guy who was once a longtime fan of Sonic in his younger years, but is slowly getting back into the games. One of the biggest questions to ask is this really Gamma himself doing this? Or is it the bird that's inside him? Gamma's the robot, not the bird. Does Gamma actually have a soul of silicone? Or is it the bird inside him that drives him? To free his brothers, Gamma has to destroy them. So does that mean he has his own soul? Or since we see the memories of the bird in the game, does that mean the bird is fighting for control? Those kinds of questions are what really make a story all the more enthralling. Even if there is a canonical answer, I really don't care to know it. Because here's something that all writers need to consider. You don't need to answer every question that your story creates. And more often than not, it makes your story a lot more engaging for your fans. These kinds of questions can lead to serious discussions and bring up very creative ideas for people to latch onto. It's the same energy that Five Nights at Freddy's has in that regard, or the truck in Vermilion City in Pokemon's first generation. But this is something that games are slowly phasing out, and frankly, I find that to be sad. So, looking back on a game from a long time ago, I can't help but smile at this story, a story that was too good for Sonic.
All's well that ends well, right?
Hey guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm doing some experimentation with my content, and I hope you guys got to this point of the video, and if you did, be sure to put the following phrase in your comments.
Oh no!
The more engagement, the better the video does. So, thank you guys for supporting me by watching this video. It means a lot to me that you guys are supporting me and my goofy antics. If you guys like the video, leave a like. If you dislike the video, leave a dislike. Just do me a favor and leave a comment telling me your reasoning why you liked it or disliked it, or if you have your own thoughts or opinions on this story. And if you want to see more content from me, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell. My YouTube analytics are telling me that only a quarter of you people watching are actually subscribed, so if you're watching this video, please consider doing just that. Give me a chance. I might win you over. 2022 is going to be filled with a lot of fun content, and I want to have you all join me on that journey. And like Gamma, I want to make an impression on you people. So, thanks for watching, have a great day, I'm MangaKamen, and please remember to examine your fandom. Bye-bye!